Welcome to the Floor Academy podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Hadeen, owner of Illustrious Hardwoods in Mesa, Arizona. We're here to encourage you to learn while you earn. I want to make sure that you are getting the education you need to run a more successful, profitable business that puts more money in your pocket so you can be at home with your family more or building the dream that you want. Whatever that's going to be. I personally want a rental empire, get me some like fourplexes or something, cash in on some monthly rent checks from those, and sit back and relax and maybe not have to install floors all day long. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's rewarding, but there's better ways to make money in life and there's ways to fund it. So we are here with Doug Lee, who is a bookkeeper with bookkeepingdoneforyou.com, doneforyou.com. And we're going to go over job costing and analysis, which is a very powerful tool once you get it set up and it's put in place for you. But first, I'm going to let Doug introduce himself, tell us who he is, what he does, why he does it, and we will take it from there.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for inviting me to explain what I do and how important it is to small businesses. My name is, as Kyle said, Doug Lee, and I'm a bookkeeper. By trade, I've been a bookkeeper for about 25 years and using QuickBooks desktop before it became online. And I'm also a Zero certified bookkeeper. I've been bookkeeping for a construction firm and electrical contractor for those years, and really enjoy numbers. And I know that may seem odd to some of you, but it really makes me excited whenever I can make everything work out just right and make sure people can earn a profit.
Hey, the numbers are, you will make more behind the desk than you will make on the floor. Because if you can get your numbers right, then you actually know what's going on. And so that it's a powerful tool, and having somebody that knows how to do that in your pocket, boy, it can really change your business. So, I'm going to toss you a softball here at the beginning, Doug. What are some things that we want to look for in a bookkeeper when we go to hire one?
Well, in today's economy, you could probably look online and get the reviews, but you want to maybe find out, maybe interview them like you would an employee, and find out if they're looking more for your benefit. If they speak financial jargon, you might want to steer away from them. But if they can talk more about the things that interest you, they really need to hear you in order to make ends meet and see if this is something that both of you can work together on. You might ask them maybe some of the experience they've had, and they would be able to maybe explain it to you and see how they explain it to you, because many bookkeepers, I fall in this category sometimes too, speak in terms that they're used to and not the terms of the customer.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a lot of things that can quickly go over my head when I'm talking with my bookkeeper, and I'm just like, hold on, what? And she explains it to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do that. I just don't call it that, but it's this thing. So
Yes.
I definitely, I think that. And then is it important to find somebody that specializes? Like, I know my bookkeeper just happened, when I was introduced to her, she happened to have a lot of experience in the construction industry, as you do yourself. But there's, you can find people that specialize in the medical field. You can find people that specialize in the construction field. You can find people that, you're going to find little niches. And then there's people that just kind of say, I can do bookkeeping. So is it important to have somebody that actually understands your industry and what you're trying to do within it?
Yes, it is. Because if it's a generic bookkeeper, they have no way to specialize. It's like you in the flooring business. Yeah, maybe a painter knows how to put in a floor, but he's not going to do it as well as a flooring guy. And a bookkeeper that is in the contract construction business knows the ins and outs and what certain things may be called and certain tax advantages and way to categorize things and whether to put something in a cost of goods sold. Whoop. I didn't know my screen went funny there.
No, we're good. Okay, so I mean, they're setting you up. They're getting everything organized that's for you because they know how you need to function and how you kind of need reports and things like that. But once you start that relationship, you're going to be able to customize it more and say like, no,
Yes.
I want it presented to me like this. I've listened to a couple of podcasts with like CEOs that have like taken over the position and they were given reports and they were like, I don't know what any of this means. Like this, I don't get this. And so they like sat down and they worked with the team and they were like, can you present it to me this way? And they switched the reports and gave him some different numbers. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, I know what's going on now. So not everybody's going to get something the right way. And so I think it's important that you have a give and take.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to look at, if you go way back in the catalog, folks, you can find Bookkeeping 101 with Janice Nordmark. And so that will kind of get you into, here's this basic idea of what bookkeeping can do for you and how to set up your books and make sure someone's taking care of them properly. And what we want to do today is really dig into some numbers, because oftentimes what's happening is we're going out and we're doing projects and we think we're making money and we think we're profitable and we think we can go buy the truck or buy the tool, but then we can't make payroll on Friday, or it's coming up and we don't have the money to pay the taxes, or we think that we keep doing a certain type of project and so we're taking on all of these like small bathroom remodels and we think they're profitable, but if you sat down and you really looked at the numbers, maybe you find out that these things aren't working for you or that you should have set the money aside, whatever it's going to be. And that's what we really want to get into and start dissecting is, what do we have to do to be able to look at how to be profitable? So Doug, where do we even start? Because I can send my transactions over and you can see money in and money out. But where do we even start? What are the basics of starting to put together? How do I know if I'm profitable?
Well, it's a good that you brought up the profit, because that's what we really want to be thinking about. Is profit is really what's left over after everybody else is paid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's four factors that determine profit. It's one is the price you charge, and the number two would be the quantity of hours or jobs that you sell, and number three is the variable costs, which are costs that vary from job to job that are specific to that job, and then four is fixed costs, which are costs not tied to any job, but they're still costs for the business. And there's basically two ways to get more profit, and that's getting more sales or higher volume, or less money cost per job. And the second way is to get more sales and keeping the fixed costs down. And so it's really important to know what your break-even point is. That would be the basic function that I think more people ought to pay attention to. Screen here, just a minute. I'm not sure what's happening here.
Okay, I'm not losing you. So I think we're good.
I want to see eye contact. Okay.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Good. Oh, good. That's good. So setting your prices is your business, and you cannot determine your prices based on someone else's work.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out your direct labor costs. And that's important. And when you do the direct labor cost, you need to think of, let's say, if you're a solo entrepreneur, you got to figure your hourly rate, you got to figure your taxes, and then there's other things that are costs like your workers' compensation insurance. There's paid time off. All of those need to be figured in before you can know your hourly rates. And your hourly rates, hold on a second, I keep getting, I'm going to minimize all these.
You're good. No, I mean, as you're pausing and dealing with that, I agree that you have to start at the beginning and you have to know what your actual costs are. And luckily, Floor Academy has a really great tool for that. And so you can go on our website, flooracademypod.com, go to the files tab, and you put in your email address, you download the business budget calculator, and it's going to ask you all those things. You know, you put in how many days you want to work. So is it 230 days a year? And that's my rough starting point, because that gives you all the federal holidays off. It gives you it's every weekend off, 11 federal holidays, and then 2 weeks off on top of that, essentially. And so it's like a month of no working with the holidays plus all the weekends. And that's a good kind of starting point. But then it starts asking, you know, how much do you want to make a year? How much does your truck cost you? How long are you going to keep it for? How long, you know, are you going to have a laptop and a phone and your tools? And it goes through all these different things, and then it spits out a number and it says, okay, well, this is how much you need to make to stay afloat and keep it as is. But then the last ultimate thing is, hey, how much money do you want the company to make a year? Because you only put money in your pocket at that point by telling it your salary. And so then it tells you, you put in how much profit you want for your company. It spits out a new number. And then you have like, okay, this is what we need to make per day. And I say, don't get hung up on the per day amount. Focus more on like weekly and monthly. But it gets you that idea so that you can start breaking down your costs, like you said, because you mentioned doing hourly stuff. I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they never actually track how long projects take them. They just assume, oh man, I'm like 400 square feet a day. Well, they're really 300 square feet a day, and they keep bidding projects wrong. And so if you're short 100 square feet every day, your numbers are bad. Mm-hmm. But please, that's my spiel. Go download the tool, but this tool will apply into part of this process, and then we will see if I can make a job cost analysis tool to go along with it. But please, Doug, continue with going through what you're kind of looking at here.
Also, some other things that you need to think about too, and it's along the same lines as what you're saying. There are non-productive days. There are days when you have to go bid jobs. There's days when you have warranty issues, and you got to think of those things too. You got to put them in an hourly rate. Mm-hmm. You got to add that on top of your hourly rate so you'll know what you're up against. And then you've also got to separate out what is actually directly costing per job, and then what is actually overhead. And then you've got to divide your overhead by the number of hours of the year that you work, so that it comes out to be an hourly rate for your overhead, so you're not caught short at the end of the year.
Okay. And so, I mean, that's a lot of tracking. And I think that's, as a single owner operator, I think that's where a lot of guys and gals go wrong, is they're just like, I work all the time, 24 hours a day. I work. But how long did you actually work? How much time did you put into marketing? How much time went into the installation hat? How much time went into the bidding hat? You have to track the info. Otherwise you have nothing.
Sometimes it's good to go by some basics. Like if you know the direct labor costs, and if this is not your first year of business, you know what last year was like. Mm-hmm. The good rule of thumb is that you want to try to stay under 35% for your overhead. If you have 35% of overhead, then you'll be pretty safe in doing your fixed costs.
Okay.
So what you could do is you could just figure out what you made last year, and if you don't have an exact amount, figure 35% for your overhead, so you can add that onto your hourly rates, so you make sure you're not coming up short, like I say, at the end of the year.
Okay. So one of the questions I see a lot of times on the Facebook groups that I'm in is everyone's always saying, how much do I charge? What's the going rate in Michigan? What's the going rate in Tennessee? What's the going rate in the Phoenix market? But if I remember at the beginning, you were like, you got to figure out your costs. So does the going rate matter, or does the cost to operate my business matter?
The cost to operate your business matters because your business is your business. It's not
Mm-hmm.
based on anybody else's. The guys that maybe undercut you, uh, they don't have those things in mind. Many times, it's usually you're trying to be the lowest bidder, and that's if your customer base is always wanting for the lowest bid, maybe you have the wrong customers.
I agree. That's not who I'm after. That's for sure.
Right. And the thing that a lot of people don't realize is they need to have their hourly rate. They need to figure out how much your taxes are going to be. You need to know what your tax rate's going to be so you can build that into your hourly rate if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be an hourly contractor.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So the papers on the laptop, can you watch them? Because the mic is right there on the laptop and they keep going up
Okay,
against
sorry.
it. Yeah. No, all good. Yeah, no, I think you've gotta pay attention to all this stuff, and the people not paying attention to costs and looking into being able to run a business like this, they're not going to be around very long, in my opinion. They might make it a few years, but if something happens to the economy, most likely those are the businesses that get lost. And so
Mhm.
you're trying to build this strong foundation, and knowing your numbers will give you a very strong foundation. So where are we taking this next, right? We've kind of worked out what our fixed costs are, and we know what our hourly costs are for us. So we've got that info. What are the next kind of pieces of the puzzle?
Well, then like I say, you need to build in your what your taxes are going to be for your hourly rates.
Okay.
And usually, if you can figure about a 34% tax rate, you're pretty safe for most people. If you pay less than that, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got to figure your state tax as well if you have a state income tax. So if you figure about 40% of your tax, then that would be pretty good. Um, so if you would like divide what your hourly rate is divided by zero point 0.6, and how I get that is if you have 34% of tax, and let's say your state income tax is 6%, that makes it even 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So what's left is 60%. So if you divide that hourly rate divided by zero point 0.6, that'll come up with your taxable rate. I'm sorry, your break-even point, including taxes. And then after that, you can divide how much you want to earn as profit. If it's 15%, if that's what you want, then you take 15% out of or away from like 100%, and that leaves 85%. So then you divide the hourly rate by 0.85, and that'll give you your selling price per hour.
Okay. So, and then once you know that selling price per hour, I look at it as like, okay, so I'm trying to figure out what I need to make minimum. And so if I'm going to go work 8 hours a day, then I can multiply that rate by 8 and say, okay, it's 800, it's $1,000 a day, whatever it's going to be. But then what can I do within that day? And I'll look at, on average, I can do this much carpet removal in 8 hours, or this much vinyl plank in 8 hours, or whatever. And that's where I start coming up with the numbers to get
Mhm.
what it actually cost me per square foot. And some people say get away from square foot pricing. So that's a whole different discussion. I don't care how you do it. You got to know what you need to earn per day so that you can
Mhm.
be profitable and move your business forward. And I think it's funny that you mention 40% as like a rough number, because since I started my business, that's what I've always done is whatever the check is at the end, like I'll take out any material cost that I spent on the project because those don't get taxed. And then I will set 40% of it aside into a savings account. The company operates off the 60%. And so any bills that need to be paid, I try and pay everything out of that 60% just to be safe. So the taxes are trying to get paid, any insurances, any employee costs, anything. But there's still this savings account collecting 40% every time I get a check. And if some weird expense comes up or the tax bill's a little bit higher than I thought it was going to be, the money's there to cover it. But then at the end of the year, once you pay, April 15th rolls around and you cut that big fat check, whatever's left in that savings account, that's profit. And then you're really happy.
Yes, exactly.
So it's important to have systems, folks. I may not know what I'm doing all the time, but I knew enough to know to save some money. But now, all of this is building towards I want to be better and know sooner what's going on, because if you're doing these things, you can correct your business immediately when you're looking at these reports. Correct, Doug?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, it's always good to know what your break-even point is, because when times are slow, you know what your costs are. You can pull back a little bit of money if you want to just keep guys working, if you have employees, or you want to work yourself or whatever. If you know your numbers, then you know when you can take a break and when you can't.
No, I think that's big, especially when if you don't know what's going on with the economy slows down, whatever it's going to be. If you got to pull back your prices a little bit, I don't recommend that. I would say keep them where they're at, because that's why we have low rates in this industry, in my opinion, is every time something happens with the economy, everyone scales back prices, and then the economy comes out of it, it gets better, and everyone starts upping their prices. Something else happens, you pull them back. Just leave them where they're at. That was the price. Leave it. It's something's got to give at some point, and it needs to stop being us.
Yes.
So what are we looking at with where are we going next? Kind of what are the next steps?
Well, if you know your hourly rates, you can then use those on every job. You can afterwards, take a job and say, how many hours you work there, and you'd be able to look at your projected, what you thought it was going to be in the projected before the job started, and then you can see how close that is to reality after the job's done.
Okay, and so if somebody's essentially, you need to be setting up your project to be operating at a certain gross profit margin. You want to be hitting a 35 or 40% or whatever that's going to be. And you want to say I want to net 15%. So by the time I pay everybody out, I have to be hitting these numbers. And so that's what this is going to allow us to do. But it's looking at all the costs associated with it. And so we're going in there and we're putting in that we sold material on this project. And then we had, material costs that we don't sell. We just go and provide caulking and nails for baseboards, but that's still a cost associated with this project. And I think it's another thing that a lot of guys and gals probably miss, is that they're not keeping track that, and I admit I don't do it. I go and buy the 30 pack of caulk. It lasts 10 or 15 jobs depending on how much baseboard I do. Maybe it's a little less. I'm not worried about it because I sold how much baseboard. But if I was actually tracking, maybe I would know if I needed to be higher in my cost for baseboard installation and caulking, because I truly don't know. What I do know is I'm more expensive than most people in my area. But do I really know if it's accurate? No, I don't.
Right. You can get too nitpicky with that too, and there are some indirect costs that maybe you can apply to every job. But maybe caulk, how much you do per year, and then you know how many jobs you do, you can just have a kind of a broad idea of how much you add for a job for like you know, flooring supplies.
Hmm. Okay, so some things that don't nickel and dime everything. Look at other
Yeah,
stuff from a more broad perspective. Maybe keep track for the entire year, add it up, and
right. Hmm.
then do it. If I'm looking to do this stuff, is it obviously receipts come itemized, but I'm not turning them into my bookkeeper or you that way. So is this something that I would need to stipulate with you beforehand? Hey, I need you to start keeping track of my receipts, and if I buy caulking or a saw blade, or like, can you start keeping track of some of these costs so we can figure them out at the end of the year?
Yeah, what is good to do is have it all categorized and speak with the bookkeeper about like say, and you just like if you get something at Home Depot, you can just either have the job name as job supplies, or have some way of noting if it's a specific job. You can say if this is for the Smiths flooring, or you can say, this is for office supplies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That way, the bookkeeper knows um, how to categorize it, and then it can come back after the job and give you an idea closer to what the profit margin is.
Okay. And then, I mean, that's where I struggle with it all, right? Because I might buy a saw blade one day and, that lasts how many projects, but there's other things on there that don't necessarily last that long. And so do I need to get nitpicky with the receipts and like have like, okay, I'm going to buy the materials that are just for this one project on one receipt, and like I'll run a transaction while I'm at Home Depot, and then I have another pile of stuff and I run another transaction because that's stuff that might last 5, 6 projects, and then I might
Well,
have another thing, and it's a now I'm going to have like just on this receipt there's some office supplies, instead of, because otherwise I'm sitting there like, okay, let me circle out like what this stuff is and make notes. So what's the best way to approach this so that we're not, I don't want to have 15 transactions at Home Depot when I go and I have a cart full of stuff. But if I need to, so I can keep better track of my stuff, then I'll do it.
this is why it's good to have a good relationship with your bookkeeper. You may have some initial communication along that lines, but once you get a pattern of going in and getting the same sort of stuff, there'll be the odd one or two items after a while that he may ask questions about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of that's why it's important to um, specialize, have a bookkeeper that specializes with you. That way that you can form a relationship, and it can be a long-term benefit for both of you. That like you, when you always buy your Home Depot, maybe on Thursdays you all get the supplies for the next 2 months or whatever. I don't know, whatever
Mm-hmm.
way you work out, but just it's really about relationships with uh, your support staff.
Okay. Communication, making sure you build that relationship, you have that open communication, and that you're making sure that you're letting them know what you want. And I guess that's the more I talk with different business owners, that's what all of them are about. I may install floors, but ultimately it's about me communicating with the homeowner to deliver what they truly want in the project. It's not necessarily that they wanted a floor, it's that they wanted to not have carpet get ruined by dog urine anymore. And so we had to find the fix for that. That's what makes them happy. It's not necessarily the floor, it's the solution to the problem. So our problem is oftentimes in construction, we're not as profitable as we think. And how many, I guess that's a good question for you. How many companies come to you thinking that they're doing really well, and you kind of get their book straightened out and you're just like, nah, man, you're a hot mess. You got no money.
I had somebody reach out to me, and he hadn't filed his taxes for about 4 years.
Oh,
And
ouch.
after we got going, uh, he said, I thought I was being profitable. But what was happening was that he was way overspending, his profits or his
Hmm.
sales, and he didn't know his pricing. And that's, case in point of what we're talking about here.
Hmm. And so, I mean, you were able to start breaking that down for him, and
Oh,
now
absolutely. Well,
has
we're still in the middle of some of this, so um, it's really, and there's another, uh, hold on here. There's another contractor that his office staff really didn't know about bookkeeping. Oh, dear. I'm not sure what's happening on my computer here. All sorts of things have been opening
I,
up.
we're getting there. We're making it happen. It's okay. It's a lively one.
So, so
10,000 years ago, a major
just a
revolution.
minute. I got to see where this is coming from. Hold on.
Man went from hunter-gatherer to farmer. But in one area, we are still hunter-gatherers. In the area
Where in the world is this coming from?
we still gather wood, oil, coal, and gas. Our hunting grounds now cover vast areas. The whole world has been
I love
combed
it. I love it. We're getting an education today.
and no longer safe. The hunt causes problems, huge problems. Climate change, health.
Okay.
We're gonna make it through this. I like it. We're learning about primitive beings and hunter gathering skills. Which, hey, you know what? It all relates because that's what we're still doing, even owning your own
Yeah.
business in the construction trade. Like you're out there hunting and gathering every day. So,
Yeah, there's a contractor that reached out to me, and he has several things in his bookkeeping that his office person didn't know what to do with, and to be honest with you, the CPA told me, or told the office person to tell the bookkeeper not to make any changes until after the taxes are filed for 2021. The business owner came in and said, "Well, look at my reports. They've got all these negative numbers and that need to be positive, and it looks like there was accounts that hadn't been reconciled for months,
mm-hmm.
and it was just a mess. And his business had grown, tripled over the last year,
Oh wow.
and he was needing some help, and his CPA was so busy filing taxes that he wasn't able to help with the day-to-day grind that the owner really needs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a couple examples.
Is that so? With that, I mean, oftentimes it's either the owner operators doing it themselves, or oftentimes it gets handed off to a significant other. And it's like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to go do this stuff in the field. And can you just we'll buy QuickBooks and you start putting numbers in. And some people can do it well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking everybody. And you have to start somewhere. It's at least you're keeping track of your finances instead of just putting all the money in an account or trying to keep track of your finances. But I would assume more often than not, you get handed those books and they're just a complete mess. And you spend hours and hours going through and fixing them and just finding nonsense.
Yeah, it's actually better. I know I wouldn't recommend not keeping care of your books, but the one that was 4 years behind in his taxes was
Mm-hmm.
easier than the one that for the cleanup. Catch-up work is a lot better than cleanup in
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeping, but staying on top of it is the best altogether.
Well, and it's I don't know what your rates are, but I know for me, I don't know. I probably send I scan everything. I don't have to go into the office or anything like that. So I scan all my stuff. I email it out once a week, once every other week. But at this point in where I'm at with my business, it's probably 50 sheets. And so most of them are one-page receipts, or I paid a credit card and print out the transaction. I send that with, and then the last couple of pages might have 4 or 5 receipts per page. So maybe I'm doing 60, 70 transactions per month or so. And I want to say my rate's $100 a month right now. And then to cut payroll and do the payroll taxes and stuff like that, it's like another 50, but that's the lowest she'll go, and that's up to 3 employees. So I can add 2 more people, and I'm still going to pay like $50 a month to get checks cut and deal with all the. It's like a 941 or something. I don't know. I got to go in quarterly and sign it, but and then they automatically pay my taxes to federal for the employees, and they're handling all that stuff. I don't have to think about it. I can be in the field answering calls, getting work done. So to me, $1,200 a year up to $1,800 a year if I'm getting the payroll services just to start out as like a smaller company. And my rate's gone up since I started. I think she started me at like $50 a month. Like, that amount of money was so negligible in the grand scheme of running this business that it never made sense not to have it. And I think people are scared because they think the cost will be a lot higher than what they actually think it will be, because they think, oh, well, this guy, oh, they're going to be like my employee. It's going to be like a $50,000 a year salary because their specialty. But that's not the case, because I'm not buying your entire year. I'm buying a fraction of your time. So what's the... Tell the listeners why they need... besides being able to start getting reports that actually show them what their business is doing, like, why do they want to hand off this work?
Well, many times they can make money by handing off the work. Because if you think about it, your hourly rates, if you've got those figured right, you can go make money while your bookkeeper's doing the books for you.
Mm-hmm.
So many times you can make more money by passing this off to someone else, and then you're able to go do what you do best.
No, I agree. I think it's funny because knowing your hourly rate, a couple of years ago, one of the big retail chain stores had a great deal on some phones with like a huge rebate offer for Black Friday. And I looked at it. I told my wife, I was like, well, we need new phones. Let's go. If we can be in and out in less than 3 hours, I'm going to make money on this transaction. She's like, what? It was like, I can either invest time in the business trying to get the next project, and it's worth X amount of dollars per hour I do that, or we can go stand in line and try and get these phones and these huge rebates. It took us like an hour. I was like, sweet, it's a win today. So you got to know how to invest your time. And me investing time in bookkeeping doesn't make sense to me. I don't want to be good at it. I want to understand it so I know what the reports say when I look at them. But I've got better things to do than punch numbers into QuickBooks 10 o'clock at night when I want to be going to bed so I can wake up in the morning. Like, that's not how I want to spend my time. All right. So Doug, what are some of the other costs? Like, we're getting distracted, but what are some of the other costs I need to be looking at and keeping track of? Is, do I need to do it for individual employees, per productivity levels, per pay grade, per, am I looking at gas per job?
Gas would be probably more lumped in with your overhead expenses, because you wouldn't want to just figure gas for one particular job. I mean, you can go that way if you want to, but I think it'd be an effort and futility. But things that you can think about is benefits, or like you said, you were fixing to say something about employees. You would go through the same process for each employee you have. Mm-hmm. You would figure out what their hourly rates are, and you would put on their taxes, and then you've got a bigger pool of hours to call as billable hours. So your overhead costs will be distributed out among more hours. So it'll actually cost you less per hour when you have employees for your overhead. Now there are
Okay.
going to be some costs involved there, but you just gotta have to make sure you're covered. You have to count each employee separately with their particular hourly rates plus the benefits you might give them. If you give them benefits like health insurance, you just figure the annual costs of those health uh, of those benefits and divide that by the total number of billable hours for that particular person,
Hmm.
and then just add that onto his hourly rate or her hourly rate.
Hmm.
Um, just things you might not think about is that owner's salary. What you probably want to do is have vacations. So I think you kind of alluded to it earlier that you want to put your hourly or your vacations and time off into your overhead
Hmm.
so that it's recouped on every hour that you spend working. You're saving up for the company for your vacations. You're going to be covered then.
Well, no one else is going to pay for it or take care of me. If I don't take
Exactly.
care of myself, who's going to do it?
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest thing missed. And then there's always the look. I get it, right, folks. I'm here with you, and I'm sure Doug's in the same boat. Like it's feast or famine is the way it always feels. And so when it's hot, and when it's cold, and you may have a bunch of stuff lined up, but then Doug may have the big account leave that was like 50% of his time, and we were booked out 6 weeks, but we haven't landed a new project for 5, and we're down to that last week, and now it's what do we do, and how are we going to get by? And so you're always looking to like take that next. You're always going to take that next project and take on that new client just so you can stay busy. But at what point are you taking on bad work? And at what point can you just start charging more so that you're not worried about the downtimes? So with that thought, Doug, what are we, how much do we have to look at our numbers to know what we need to account for, right? So we
Yeah.
can have, so we're not putting ourselves in a position where we're stressed out all the time because we don't know what's going on.
Right. What's probably difficult is to make the adjustments midstream. And I talked to a gentleman a couple days ago, and he's just now starting his construction business. And I'm not able to help him. He doesn't need very much help from me right at the beginning, but I talked to him about the
Mm-hmm.
very same things we're talking about now. And it's got to start somewhere. So if you are starting out, then you want to make sure it's starting out on a good, solid foundation. But if you are in the middle of it and you don't know whether you're making money, it's just take a couple hours and crunch these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Go over this podcast again. Get the spreadsheet from Floor Academy podcast, and make sure your numbers are covered, and make sure you cover for yourself and that you're accounted for, and you deserve to be compensated for the work you've done. And it isn't always the time that's on the job. You want to make sure that you're compensated when you can't work or you don't want to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, you need to make sure that the business, that it's working for you instead of you working for your business. I'm sure we've all um, heard about The Entrepreneur Within. I don't know if your readers have read that book, but it's what many times happens is the skilled laborer loves the job so much that he
Mm-hmm.
wants to become an entrepreneur. And there's a lot more to the job than when you're going to be the entrepreneur.
Yes.
You've got to do the marketing, you've got to do the administrative works, and you've got to do a lot more than just the tasks that you love to do. Um, And part of that has to deal with what we've been talking about here.
Hmm.
Know your numbers.
Yes.
Your numbers will provide for you later.
100%. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to interrupt this for just 1 second. Make plans now to be at the Ultimate Flooring, Stone, and Tile event in Las Vegas, February 1st through 3rd. Register for the International Surface Event at intlsurfaceevent.com using promo code EXH2 for free exhibits or virtual pass, courtesy of the Floor Academy podcast. Whether traveling to Las Vegas for in-person networking and product sourcing or connecting virtually at the hybrid event, the industry will discover highly anticipated exhibiting brands, new education, new show features, and much more. So you're talking about knowing numbers and I think and being making the business work for you. And I agree with that. I think one of the things that's often overlooked is everyone's, I own the business. I'm the business. I'm the business. No. You're an employee of your business. You work for it. It is it's above you. It's the higher authority in the equation. And it works not only in negotiations where you can no, the business says I need to do this with clients, right? And that's why you can't haggle on prices, is because the business says it needs X amount of dollars per day. But you're an employee of the business now, and you're accountable to making sure it succeeds. And part of that is doing all of the work. And so the numbers are part of the work. Knowing the costs are part of the work. And when you start putting that stuff in place, then it's not so daunting and scary, and you don't have to be out there taking every project anymore. You can find the ones that you enjoy, but also make you money. And I think there's something we haven't hit on yet, Doug. So what am I looking at so that I can start crunching numbers? And if I'm turning projects into you and I'm saying, okay, here's, Miss Smith, and here's Mr. Jones, and here's Susie and Dave, can you start breaking those down and showing me that I made X amount of dollars on this floor, but I made, you can start, I'm assuming you can start looking at each project for me and showing me hey, this worked really well. This was great for you, but this specific area, you had too many man hours in. The guys just don't do well here. If we go back and we look at this type of project over and over and over again, these are the results. You should not be doing this work. Is that really the kind of things we can start getting into?
Absolutely. Once you know your break-even point and your costs, you could take each job. You can look at it. Now, of course, we're all want the cream of the jobs is the time and material, and then you don't have to worry about job costing so much. But that's the few and far between. If you go and have an estimate done, you can come back and you have your the estimated materials and the actual use materials, and take use the actual numbers for the actual materials used and the actual labor, and plug in your overhead costs and know exactly what the amount is that you have accomplished after you know your numbers.
Okay. Here's a silly one. So I see it all the time in a lot of places, and people will say, 30% markup is standard. 30% markup is standard. Is 30% markup standard, or is that somebody trying to get one over on me? Because honestly, I'm trying to build a business where I bill everything out at 50% gross profit, not a 30% markup.
Mm-hmm. Well, that depends on the business, and like we talked earlier, your business is your business. And so if you want to live on 30%, then that's, up to you. But you may not last as long as those that want to earn 50%.
Well, with 30% markup is nowhere close to 50% margin. Yeah. That's the thing. It's nothing. You're telling me to it's scary to see general contractors telling guys that 30% markup is standard in this industry and you can't go higher than that. Well, that's nothing. That doesn't even cover my time to go and pick up materials most of the time. And so you want me to go spend, like, okay, if I have to go to Home Depot and buy a $1 screw, I'm going to drive the 10 minutes to Home Depot, maybe more, plus the gas, plus my time, plus getting back. And I get to charge the homeowner $1.30 for the screw. That's where are you making money? I just lost like $50. So
that's where you have to have your built-in cushion with you're doing your overhead, the owner's salary, or even some of the employees. If you know that the average number of times you go for special projects and all that, you can put those hours in your overhead costs, divide those out over the year, and then you get that recouped. So you're all covered every time. And then you don't have to worry about what the contractor says. You've got your hourly rates and it's all plugged in, and you're good to go.
Okay. So I'm guessing you would say the same thing about free estimates then. If you're going to offer free estimates, then I need to look at how many projects I bid last year and guesstimate that each one took me an hour's worth of drive time plus an hour in the house plus maybe an hour writing it up. So now I'm 100 estimates at 3 hours a piece. So I'm 300 hours in. So I have to add that into my overhead. Okay. There you go. Stop giving away. Your time's not free, folks. You're paying for it somewhere. Someone's got to pay for it somewhere, and it shouldn't be you.
Exactly.
I think that's the thing that I hate seeing most is, well, everyone else does it. So I charge for consultations. I can give you an estimate over the phone because I know my numbers. And so if you tell me you have 1,000 square feet, I know I'm in this ballpark to complete your project, which makes it a whole heck of a lot easier because you can send me some pictures and we can chat on the phone. And if I'm sitting on my couch at home, my kids are by me, my daughter's snuggled into me, I'll spend an hour with you on the phone. I don't care. I'm at home. Like I'm doing my thing. But you want me to come out? Well, you got to pay for it now. And so I'll charge for the consultation, but I'll reimburse you if you decide to move forward with me. And so it's just applied towards the balance. But it's for me, it's a tire kicker thing. There's a lot of times that folks want something and they just want you to come out because they just want the numbers. Like early on, there was a bunch of people that had I known it was an insurance quote, I'd have told them, no, I'm charging you $100 to come out and deal with this or $200 to deal with it. Right. Because they just want the numbers to turn into the insurance person. And now you're getting nothing. And so once again, knowing your numbers and how much things are worth matters, and you've got to be able to. You shouldn't pay for your business. Your client should pay for your business. Your client should pay for your lifestyle, for everything. If you want to live a millionaire lifestyle, find the clients that'll pay for it. If you want to continue to live paycheck to paycheck, that lifestyle's out there too. Those clients are there. But we have folks like Doug around to help us live the millionaire lifestyle. They can get us pointed in the direction and say, this isn't working. You need to look at things a little bit differently and adjust them so that you can move forward. With that being said, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
No, I think it.
Pretty solid?
I think so.
Okay. So if anybody has questions or they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Well, they have a Facebook page of bookkeepingdoneforyou.com. Can also look at my website, bookkeepingdoneforyou.com. And you can reach out to me on Facebook on my personal page, Doug Lee. Just any of those places would be great.
Okay. And you've got, I believe I saw it on your website, right? You can sign up, get a free, just a real quick, 15-minute consultation, go over some stuff, answer some questions, get you set up, figure out if it'll be a good fit, and move forward from there. And I think everyone should have a bookkeeper. This is, I don't care where you find them. I don't care where you interview them. Go find one, spend the money on it, because it is some of the best money you can invest back into your business. And that's paying somebody to do that, my taxes, it's so much easier. I love not having to worry about those two things, let alone if it's screwed up. The tax guy has insurance and he's on the hook for it. And the bookkeeper's in the same position. So it's one less thing for me to worry about. Like, that's your expertise. You go do that. I'm going to do what I'm good at. Okay. Let's see here. I want to make sure you go check out the website, flooracademypod.com. Join the Facebook group. We've got great discussions going on in there about business all the time. You can help support the show, patreon.com/flooracademy. $5 a month. You sign up. It goes on the debit card, the credit card, comes out automatically, helps this show continue to put out content by making it a little bit easier for me to spend the time to do it. Go check out our sponsors. We got International Surface Event now, SnapTech, Flooring Domain. And, if you really want to help out, you can go on the website, go check out the store and, pick up a shirt, a beanie. We've got, there's the fanny pack, there's mugs. We got all kinds of stuff. Go poke around. If you don't see it, let me know. They got lots more things that can get drop shipped out. It's absolutely amazing. And we get to have some fun with it. So make sure that you tune in next week. Continue to learn while you earn. Make sure you're doing Book of the Month Club with us. And that's one of the things that can help fill your ear holes besides this podcast. Flooring Domain is an award-winning online flooring directory and service marketplace that helps you find more clients, grow your online presence and reputation, or your brand. Whether you're a carpet store, a flooring installer, perhaps a tile contractor, there are jobs for everyone with a daily stream of clients visiting Flooring Domain and looking for experts like you. Flooring Domain offers a free listing option that allows you to find new client leads. You can set up a free account at Flooring Domain by visiting flooringdomain.us. Have you ever tried to install LVP on steps only to struggle with the solution for the stair nose? Introducing Snap Caps by SnapTech. You simply send SnapTech the exact LVP your client selects, and they'll turn it into a perfectly matched stair nose that clicks flush into the tread plank. For a simple and reliable solution, visit www.snaptech.biz to learn more or order. And in fact, here's a little sample, folks. So here is the plank. It still has the locking mechanism on this end. They just they get it rounded over and they'll send it to you. It'll be the 4-foot plank, and you're good to put that on and then click another piece right into it. All right. Thank you, Doug, for your time. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, people, for listening. Tune in next week for more business education to help strengthen this industry from the bottom up. See you then.